Hi there Libras, I'm Ellie Rose from PsychicFuture.com and this is your horoscope from the 24th to the 30th of September. So, happy birthday if you've got one this week. We are now officially in Libra season and hopefully you got to do a little bit of celebrating for the autumn equinox last weekend. If you haven't yet, there's still a lot of kind of harvest energy about, so it's still time to get together and, you know, do something nice and indulgent. If you need some extra tips on what to do, I've got a blog post up on the Psychic Future website, so check that out and yeah, celebrate. So let's talk about Libra season. I feel like Libras are often a little bit misinterpreted, and I have a lot of Libra in my chart. I've got Mercury in Libra and Venus in Libra, so I understand this. A lot of the time Libras are said to be, you know, very like externally charming, so, you know, very good at meeting people, very good at kind of schmoozing at parties and being the hostess with the mostess. They're into like art and beauty and aesthetically pleasing things, and all of this is very external and somewhat superficial, and it actually doesn't give the full story because there's a lot more to the sign of Libra than these kind of slightly superficial themes tell us. And a lot of this is to do with this changing of the seasons, like what we were talking about last week in the autumn equinox video. So let's just think about the equinox. It is the time of year when the days and the nights are of completely equal length, and we're crossing over from the light half of the year, so summer and all of this lovely kind of external things like going out with our friends and enjoying and being outside and, you know, just really soaking up the sunshine and that kind of thing. And then we're moving into the darker half of the year, so winter, the days are getting shorter, we're spending more time inside, and it's all about going within and kind of transforming on the inner because there's not as much to do on the outer. So the equinox is that time of year, it's the tipping point, and that is exactly reflected in the sign of Libra of the scales. So this actually gives us our kind of secret to the more meaningful side of Libra. Because if you think about the scales, this is the very kind of like deep premise of Libra is this idea of balance and harmony. And if you have all of this external stuff, like, you know, being a hostess with a mostess and meeting people and having nice dress sense and all this kind of stuff, this is all the external, but it's kind of forgetting about the internal. And what Libra is really about is about using the external to try and reflect something on the internal. So I'll talk a little bit more about that because at first kind of hearing, it's a little bit like, okay, what does that really mean though? In psychology, there is this idea of projection. Now, this was created by Carl Jung, who is a very famous psychotherapist. You might have heard of him. And you might have heard it being kind of said like, oh, you're just projecting on me. And what this means is when we see these external things, like when we meet another person or we know somebody, a lot of the times the things that we judge about them, whether positive or negative, are things that we already have within us that we're just not really owning. So, for example, if you meet somebody and they are really confident and, you know, they're really like strong-willed and they do things for themselves and they have like strong boundaries and you really respect that about them, a lot of the time if you look at yourself, it might be that you perhaps aren't embodying those things enough yourself and that you do actually have those things inside of you. It's just that you're seeking them in somebody else. So we do this a lot with romantic partners, and this is a lot why Libra is ruled by Venus, which is the planet of love and relationships. So we tend to seek the things that we're lacking in ourselves in other people, this idea of opposites attract. So, you know, when we meet like a new love interest and we think, wow, I love how spontaneous and ambitious they are, and perhaps you're a little bit more cautious as a person and, you know, you tend to like think things through rather than take action. And that opposites attract thing is trying to encourage you to actually be that in yourself rather than trying to seek it outside of yourself. So this is essentially what the sign of Libra is about. It's about this balance of external and internal, like the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the, you know, yin and the yang. All of these like pairs of opposites that we have is about this external and external reality we have. So this week, to bring it back to a bit of practicality, if you try and look at the world around you and learn something about yourself from that. So the easiest way to do this is to look at your relationships. So what people have you got in your life and what things do you absolutely love about them, and then try and apply that to yourself and think, you know, if I really love my best friend's sense of humour, is that something that I would like to embody more in myself? Is that something that I would like to let myself, you know, I would stop censoring myself and kind of just say what I think, and then, you know, I have this natural humour. Like, do I need to work on that because what I'm looking at is actually what I want to be and what I actually have inside of me? And then you can look at it from a negative perspective as well. Like if you've ever met somebody and, you know, they just get your back up and you think, oh, I really don't like that, I think that they're, you know, rude. Then is that perhaps because there is part of you inside of yourself that would like you to be more like honest, sometimes even if it's like brutally honest? Perhaps it is this like idea of like censorship. You are censoring yourself in some way so that you don't appear rude because you don't want to offend anybody, and you don't want people to not like you because you've said what you think. This reflection is really, really helpful for like self-improvement and trying to become whole as a person. And it's a really good idea to try and do it now in Libra season, because this is the time of year where we are moving slowly towards the within. So if we can kind of have a look at this balance and be like, okay, what am I projecting on other people that I would like to embody more in myself, then that's going to get us really set up to go into Scorpio season next, and to be like, okay, I'm going to have these inner transformations now because I've realised some things about myself and I'm ready to step into my full power now. So yeah, ask yourself some questions this week, look at your relationships, see what qualities that you like or you dislike in other people, and see if you can try and like work on those yourself and to be more full as a person and to allow yourself every experience that you have inside of yourself. So I'm going to pull you a tarot card now. I've got these lovely little mini Rider-Waite cards that I bought myself for my birthday. So yeah, let's have a card. Let's have a card for Libra. Whoa, boom, that one came out. Okay, we have the Hierophant. I don't know if you can see this, it's very tiny. So the Hierophant is a very spiritual card. It's all about like going within and realising any like spiritual lessons that you may have to learn, but it's also a lot to do with your inner authority. So do you trust yourself? Do you believe in what you see around you? So if you're the kind of person where you like to see like signs from the universe, like I am, do you allow yourself to believe in that, or do you kind of just go, oh well, you know, it's just a coincidence? Do you let your own spirituality guide you? Because that's what this card is about. It's like, don't give your authority away. Don't let other people tell you what you should believe in. You need to create that kind of stuff yourself. Like your own spiritual path comes from your own experiences. So if you're not letting yourself believe in certain things that you want to believe in, then, you know, like this is telling you to do that now. And if it's like, you know, oh, I want to believe in fairies, then do that. If that's what you want to do, then if that makes you happy and that is part of your spiritual path and part of who you are and it's part of your learning experience, then believe in fairies, go for it. Like, you know, I do, why not? Like, this is basically telling you, like, believe in yourself and know that you have all of the answers and that you are your own teacher a lot of the time in a spiritual way. So, ooh, what a deep one this week, huh? Check back next week for next week's video. We'll talk a little bit more about Libra season. And yeah, have a lovely week and a lovely birthday if you've got one. Much love.